I've long been a proponent of ProVolver, the ForceTube, the ProTube, incorporating the bHaptics tack suit, the arms, all of these haptic accessories. Can I combine it into a single, cohesive, all-in-one haptic immersive experience that's designed to just blow me away? I'm gonna try. This episode is once again sponsored by me. We're making a feature-length film called Terrible Neighbors. It's a play on the Burbs. And we have a fundraiser. I would love it if you guys could support us. If you feel like it speaks to you, it's a fun, hilarious, demented comedy written by myself and starring some of the coolest people I know. You'll find the link for that in the description. You guys are watching Bringhurst VR. I have talked about the ProTube, the ProVolver. I've talked about bHaptics and the arms, all these different mechanisms to kind of further immerse you inside of VR. And I like them all for their own reasons. But I recalled a couple years ago perusing around ProTube's website, and I saw something called the ProTommy. And it's haunted me because I've gone back and I've looked for it and I cannot find it. It's been scrubbed from the internet. And it turns out I'm not crazy. The ProTommy existed. What they'd done, they'd essentially taken the ProVolver and attached it in small form to the ForceTube and turned it into a Tommy gun that gave you force feedback on your shoulder and recoil in the hands all at the same time. And it seems like that project has been relegated to some kind of a defense program on the back end of ProTube. So it's not something that the average user can access. I wanted to try. Can I take the ProVolver and attach it to the ForceTube and turn it into an all-in-one experience that, albeit has some hiccups, but in a game where it belongs, in a game that just makes use of a rifle, an SMG. And so I got to work. Now there's nothing stopping you from removing length of pipe from the ProTube or the ForceTube, which is the ProTube with the haptic butt stock. But the problem always was that you couldn't put the ProVolver on the ForceTube stock because it was so heavy. Like if you just relied on it and held it and one-handed this or that, the whole thing would fall apart. It just wasn't strong enough. And so by removing pieces of the pipe, taking apart the controller grip for the right-handed ProVolver unit, I was able to slide a bolt from one end to the other, and in a separate test, I secured it further with a cold weld epoxy. Both of them work great. One of them is much more secure and permanent. But what you're looking at here is the bolt. And so the way this works, days of work and trial and error and breaking things and trips to the Home Depot, I have in my possession a weapon that kicks my shoulder and gives me recoil in the hands all in one. It works across dozens of games on standalone, even more on PC VR, and even more if you take into account mods. I have tried this unit on Contractors, Onward, Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades, which will be called H3 VR moving forward. I'm sick of saying that. The ForceTube is this much. The ProVolver is this much. Combined, it's this much. But you need to take into account that by doing this build, by attaching this hand grip to the bar permanently or with a bolt, which is still permanent enough to be kind of a headache if you ever want to get the ProVolver off for a single-handed Half-Life Alyx game session, then you're going to want to spend the money and buy a second one of these attachments. That way you have an all-in-one device when you're playing a game where it's just rifles, and in the instance that you want to play one-handed, flip that up, you flip that up, you take it off. And then you would attach this to whatever secondary handheld grip you have. If you need to reload, throw a grenade, comes off, goes back on. Difference is in a game like Vertigo 2, which I tried with this, immersive wise, it's a blessing. It's a blast. It's cool. Having this hit your shoulder while this tugs your hand back. It's not. So I reviewed the Apexinno guns last week, and the subject of my review was it's cheaper, it's cool, it does the trick, but it pales in comparison to ProTube. And the reason for that is that I didn't really get into in that review is that the Apexinno kind of just takes the plastic and slaps it together. It's more of like a vibration, maybe a clack. It's even just like an audible thing, you know. There's no force feedback in terms of like recoil. Whereas this, it's taking a hunk of heavy metal and throwing it back into your shoulder, into your hand every time you fire. And unlike the Apexinno, where there are two modes, single fire and rapid fire, that rapid fire is just, it is what it is, and you can't change it, and you hope that it aligns with whatever gun you have. Fine. But this is literally synced with every single bullet. Doesn't matter what you're firing. If the game works with ProTube, it could be an SMG, it could be a sniper rifle, it will always sync with it perfectly. Whether it's 10 bullets a second or 25, it doesn't matter. It's going to respond accurately, and there's value in that. And when paired with the bHaptics tac suit in games that allow it, which this particular unit, no, it won't work in Half-Life Alyx. There are no two-handed weapons in that game, but in something like Onward, Contractors, HIGVR, the tac suit with those games and the kick that you feel in your shoulder, in your hand, and then up your arm and into your chest. It's the most immersive thing I've ever felt. And you have to subtract a few things during your gameplay. You have to know that when using something like this, your right hand is locked. You can't take it off. So population 1, can't do it. Can't climb with two hands. Fine, done. But stick to a game where you only ever need your left hand and your right hand is always for pointing or firing. You're all set. It's a cool experience. If anyone's curious, the screw that you need to make this attach permanently is an M4 by 0.7 metric. And I've shown some footage here as to, how it's done, but just a quick rundown. There's a length of pipe that you want to remove to get it to look like this. Specifically, the pipe that holds the left-handed magnet. The magnets are held in by a small bolt, a small screw. You want to take that screw out, and from there, everything's going to fall apart. But pay attention to how they fall out. You're just going to replicate that. You're going to put everything back together, slide a screw through it, and call yourself good. There is a square nut that you're going to find when you do that. It almost looks like a washer, but it's threaded. Additionally, this hand grip right here plugs into the base of that cup. It's got a metal kind of hook, and that hole that the screw feeds into is threaded as well. What you're gonna have to do to pull this off, if you do it the way that I did it, I took a drill bit and I shaved off some of the plastic lip that hovers over this thing that secures this metal tab right here, because I wanted to be able to screw in from this end in, and there was kind of a plastic sheath that was preventing that. If you're curious, links for all this will be in the description. Questions, hit me up. But that's what I've got. Hit me up on Discord if you guys have any questions. If anyone can think of a way of modifying this ProTommy in a way that makes it more modular, more easy to use, more accessible between different games while maintaining that secure build. And if you have a prototype, if you own this and you've done something with it and you think you've done it better, I would love to know. Show me something on Discord, and the person that impresses me, I'll probably send you like $150 worth of Quest 3 accessories. I'm looking forward to it. You guys have been watching Bringhurst VR. Be sure to subscribe and like, and stay tuned. Hit that bell icon. You guys have been watching Bringhurst VR. I'll catch you on the flip side.